All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Help me a little bit, please. Good evening. Thank you very much. All right. I'm not running. I might actually just start walking. This is great. Hey, can you please all give yourself a round of applause? This is an amazing turnout. Thank you very much. I'm going to get through the particulars real quick so we can go straight to the questions, because I'm not sure you don't want to hear me speak. My name is Van Martin. I'm the president of the Coral Gables Forum, also formerly known as the Ponce Business Association. For some of you that you may know, it's been around for 40-plus years. In my part-time life, I'm a financial advisor at Raymond James. We won't boo me there, but that's okay. I'm going to get to some of the, just some of the particulars. First thing is, can you please get your cell phones off? I know we have emergencies. You put it to vibrate. If you have an emergency, just quietly just step out. And please do not answer the phone. Just go out and call the person back if you need to, please, because we do have the police officers here. We'll escort you out. Right there. I see you. Right there. All right. Second thing is we're going to be very strict on the time, all right, because there's 6 candidates, and we're going to be very strict on the time, so please don't shoot the messenger. We don't want to be rude, but we're going to cut you off just for everybody's sake so you get the most questions in. Just a quick statement. Most of us live in Coral Gables. A lot of us work in Coral Gables. Some of us do both. We know the candidates specifically for March 2nd, 9th, and the 16th. If there's a certain question that is answered and you don't really like the answer, can we just be, do me a favor and just be a little cordial? It'd be really appreciated so we can move along. So if you don't like something, just kind of bite your lip a little bit and just move on. I know we hold politics dear to our hearts, so we just want to make sure everybody's cordial so we can have everybody a chance to say something or to answer in their own beliefs and feelings, okay? So we got a thumbs up on that? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Also, the Ponce Business Association meets first and the third Monday of every month at John Martin's and the coralgablesforum.com. It's coralgablesforum.com if you want to visit the website. And if you can do me a favor, all who are helping the candidates and the candidates themselves, after this is done, can you please make sure you pick up all of your stuff? We will charge you $5 per sign and $1 per brochure if it's left. All right, and it's all going to go to the church. All right, so fair enough? All right, good. So we're good with that. All right, so let's just get with the way it's going to happen. All right, so each candidate's going to get, sorry, I apologize. Each candidate's going to get 2 minutes to open, 2 minutes to close. And each question, we're going to do what is called a round robin. So we're going to start with Mr. Fernandez, and we're going to go this way. And we're going to start with Mr. Fernandez for the first question. And then after that, depending upon how the questions are going, Elliot's going to go down, or he's going to ask in different orders, but he's going to do his best to try not ask the same person a question before everybody else has their initial question answered. Does that make sense? And then each candidate has a 1 minute to rebut. And if you can do me a favor, and this is only to try to help you guys and ladies. We have 6 candidates. We're pressed for time. We want to make sure we get as many questions as possible. So this is only advice. You don't have to follow it. It's entirely up to you because your minute is your minute. If you do not have anything extra to add to the so-called 2-minute question or response, I would advise you to just say, defer. That way you can have a full 2 minutes to respond to a situation or a question. If you have something different, if you don't agree, go right ahead. This is what it's for. But I'm just saying with 6 people, you might want to defer if you really don't have anything new to add, because then it gets a little bit monotonous. All right? You're saying we can pick up that time later on? No. Not you, definitely. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, no, this is not AT&T cumulative minutes, all right? This is not rollover minutes, all right? So the green sign, when we hold it up, the green sign for opening statements and closing statements and the 2-minute questions, when that goes up, that means you have a minute left or 30 seconds. So you have a minute left in the opening statements and 30 seconds on the rebut, right? Yeah, 30 seconds on the rebut. And we didn't pay attention to the questions when you guys wrote it. We kind of shuffled it up, gave it to Elliot, and from there we should be good to go. So with that, I'm going to introduce our moderator. Originally from New York, Elliot Rodriguez is news anchor of the noon and 6 p.m. newscast for Channel 4 in Miami. Mr. Rodriguez began his journalism career as a reporter at the Miami News before becoming a reporter at Channel 4. After 2.5 years with Channel 4, he worked for WPVI TV in Philadelphia. In 1987, Elliott returned to Miami as the weekend co-anchor and general assignment reporter at WPLG Channel 10. In 1999, he joined Channel 4, where in addition to his job as anchor, he hosts the weekly public affairs program, Channel 4 Sunday Morning. A graduate of the University of Miami, Mr. Rodriguez received 2 Emmy Awards for local reporting in 2001 and 2004. He also has 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards for excellence in journalism, and he is rated as the best dressed man in Coral Gables.
Wow.
That's right. So I'm going to keep quiet now. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And please welcome Elliott Rodriguez.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Coral Gables Forum for all the hard work they put into this debate. So let's have a hand of applause for them as we start. I am a longtime resident of Coral Gables, and like you folks here, I have an interest in what's happening in our city, and that's why I'm here, because I always say that we're so fortunate to live in this city beautiful. So time is of the essence, so I say we get started right away by introducing our candidates. We have a crowded field, so we are going to stick right to time. These guys right here have the most important job. They're going to give us our time, and we're going to move. So the candidates in Group 5 are Ariel Fernandez, Jackson Rip Holmes, PJ Mitchell, Sandra Murato, Norman Anthony Newell, and Jeanette Slesnick. All right. That's going to do it for our applause tonight. Let's get right to it. And as Van mentioned, each candidate is going to get 2 minutes for an opening statement. And let's start with Ariel Fernandez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. Thanks to the Coral Gables Forum and the Coral Gables Congregational Church for allowing us to be here this evening. And particular thanks to all of you. We have a great crowd here today, and that shows the importance that this election has for each and every one of you. My name is Ariel Fernandez. I'm a graduate of Belen Jesuit and FIU. My senior year of high school, I started an internship with Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Lehtinen and went on to spend 11 years working for her. The value of constituent service was always something that she taught me, and it's something that I try to employ in my daily life. Working for her, my neighbors always knew that I worked for her, so they'd knock on my door whenever they had an issue with the city. So I became, by default, the neighborhood advocate. Last March and April, I knocked on about 2,000 doors in the North Gables area, trying to see what the issues in the area were, and I started working on some of those issues with the city, sort of like sidewalk repairs, tree protection issues, our trash pits that weren't being filled, and I started working on those issues with our residents. As I moved on in September, we had a big crime issue in the city. We had a meeting with the former police chief, and that night he didn't answer any of our questions, and at that point I decided to become a candidate for commission. I decided to run because of the issues that we have in the city that weren't being addressed, and I thought it was time to hold government accountable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackson Rip Holmes, you're next.
Thank you so much. I think I've been here before, and I think this is the first time we've had standing room only. So I just thank all of you for coming. Obviously, the Coral Gables Forum for producing, and Mr. Rodriguez for being here again to MC this. My name is Jackson Rip Holmes. I was born here. I'm 63. I'm old but not too tired to bring up what I'm afraid to say is alarming. I believe that with plans that are sometimes intentional, sometimes not, to take our main street, Miracle Mile, where I happen to own property, and make it a concrete canyon, we may see a movement towards making Coral Gables look like downtown Miami. I don't think there's many people in this room that want to see that. I think that most of you agree that the urbanization of our main street can bring crime, can change, in real estate they tell us never to use this phrase, but white flight, affluent flight, Latino flight, whatever you want to call it. People can move. I've been tempted to look at Pinecrest, Kindale Lakes, true suburbs. I don't think, I'm raising the alarm tonight. Maybe I win, maybe I don't, but I know that each and every one of you, what's so great about Coral Gables is you're very intelligent, and you'll hear what I would dare to say when we get friendlier tonight, for me, as a Miracle Mile property owner, is an emergency. How many candidates are going to use that word tonight? What we are looking at is the building blocks that are going to be irreversible into making Miracle Mile a 15-story building street, our main street. Are we willing to sacrifice the suburban nature of our city? Isn't our
Thank you very much. Our next candidate to give us an opening statement is P.J. Mitchell.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the Coral Gables Forum for hosting this event tonight. I want to thank Elliot Rodriguez for moderating, and I want to thank each of the candidates for participating this evening. And I want to wish each and every one of you good luck, but not that much luck. As you know, I'm running for Bill Cartwright's open seat. He and his family have given us a rich tradition of excellence, a tradition that I plan on continuing as your next city commissioner. As the son of a small-town physician, I was raised with a deep passion for public service. It is in my heart. I started my professional career at the Miami-Dade Public Defender's Office. And today, in my own private practice, I serve as a volunteer as a guardian ad litem for children in need. I also sit on the Coral Gables Economic Development Board and the Government Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. My commitment to you is to preserve the high quality of life that we all treasure. I will do that by being accessible to each and every one of you. I will do that by listening to your concerns, by listening to your ideas. Together as a team, we will work together to lay the foundation for a brighter and better future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Sandra Morado.
Hi, good evening. I'd like to thank the forum for sponsoring this very, very important event where we have so many residents and interested people who are here tonight. And I thank you for that because, like I say, it's so important to have your participation because otherwise we don't have a right to complain unless you're here and make yourselves active. Thank you, Mr. Elliot Rodriguez. It's very nice seeing you from this side of the stage. I've watched you here every 2 years, but I've been sitting with my children who are now in the audience. My name is Sandra Morado. I was born in Long Island, New York. On my first birthday, I moved here with my parents and my maternal grandmother. I attended Coral Park Elementary School, Rockaway Junior High, Coral Park Senior High School. I got a full scholarship to attend Florida International University, where I double majored in international relations, political science, and a minor in Italian. I'm trilingual. I understand 5 languages. I'm multicultural, multilingual. I've traveled abroad. I have studied in Belgium, in Rome, in Cambridge, and had the privilege of having a scholarship and attending Florida State University College of Law. After graduation, I worked at the state attorney's office. And I was a divorce lawyer for a few years and decided it was time to move to something else where I can bring people together and be of service. I'm an immigration lawyer. I've been a resident living at 1503 Granada Boulevard for 12 years. I am a business owner of Coral Gables. My office is on 901 Ponce de Leon Boulevard, Suite 504 if you want to visit me. My office is here, my home is here, and my 2 children, my wonderful children who are here, attend Coral Gables Preparatory Academy. My daughter is in 6th grade, she's 11, and my son is 8 years old, and he's in 2nd grade.
Time's up. Thank you.
Wow.
Our next candidate is Norman Anthony Newell for an opening statement.
Yes, also known as Tony Newell on the ballot. Thank you, Elliot. I want to thank the Coral Gables Forum for hosting the event, as well as the church for allowing us to be here, and everyone for coming. This is very encouraging. This is civic participation at its best. I also want to thank the other 60% of the city not running for this seat when they're watching at home. Thank you. Look, I've been here before. It was so nice. I did it twice. and I see a lot of familiar faces. Things have changed for me since before. I went from being that beautiful woman's boyfriend to her husband. We went from being renters downtown to owners of property in the heart of Coral Gables. I went from being, I think, a pretty involved, pretty concerned resident to someone who plays an active role in this city as a member of the Historic Preservation Board. And thanks to some really great people that I served with, I learned a tremendous amount, immeasurable amount about this city and its past. But as much as I've changed, I think the city has changed more. We have a new commission, of course. We have a new city manager and a new police chief. And I think that's the reflection, not of our goals changing, because as you know, we all want the highest quality of life possible, the lowest crime, the most efficient, transparent government possible. But the world we live in is different. And so the obstacles we encounter in achieving those goals have changed. They've changed from 2 years ago, and they've changed from 2 years before that. And so what I think our new challenges need, fresh thinking, fresh minds. And what I want you to take away from this tonight is that you're not here, of course, just to fill a seat with a warm body, okay? We need someone who's capable of taking on the challenges that we are going to encounter as a city. And I hope I earned that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette Slesnick?
Good evening. Most of you know me from my 40 years of being here in Coral Gables and know me to be an active participant in everything I've done in Coral Gables for the last 40 years, and I've belonged to a lot of organizations, had a lot of leadership roles, and I just want to get on to what I would like to do if I were elected. First of all and foremost, I think many politicians promise a lot of things, apple pie, motherhood, but don't deliver. I would like to really concentrate on 3 or 4 major things in our city. I have resumes in the back if anybody would like to see my vital statistics and so forth and where I went to school. They're in the back. I think first and foremost that we need to have a really uptick in our police protection in Coral Gables. We've been short 20 officers for quite a few years, and I think now with our new city manager is going to be pushing for having more police protection and so forth in our city. And I want to support manning all those positions and also giving the police the things that they need, like extra police cars and radios and so forth, to support their protecting us, the citizens. I would also like to, I really strongly support commercial development. Many people don't think I do. I'm a realtor, and I've been here a realtor for 38 years, and I do support commercial development and free rights to do what you want to do. We have a lot of projects coming on board. I'm just concerned that we need to take proper steps to follow in the strict guidelines and so forth that we've had for the last 25 years in our current zoning code, which is very protective. I'd also like to make sure that the residents that are near these major high-rises, and we have 18 high-rises coming up in the next year and a half, which most of you don't even know about because we now have easy access to City Hall and its records, that we have a bunch of new projects coming on. So development is crucial to supporting our tax base, but I also want to make sure that we can go further from that. Thank you.
Our first question will go to Ariel Fernandez. And Ariel, here's the question. Coral Gables' unfunded pension obligation has been a big issue for many years. The city has addressed it by cutting benefits and requiring city employees to contribute more to their pensions. Has the city done enough to get its pension obligations under control, or does more need to be done, and in that case, what should be done?
Great question. I actually had the opportunity of meeting with the police and the fire this past week, as we all did, and talked a little about this issue. We definitely have not done enough. As far as what a city should be at, we should be at 80%, and right now we're only at 62% funding. That is a large difference. I was at the retirement board meeting last week, had the opportunity to see exactly what our numbers were, and they're still alarming. We definitely need to take some steps to make a difference in that direction. The first thing I think we need to do is we need to review our budget. I think our city budget, we have $155 million in our annual budget. I think that needs to be reviewed. We have some money that's going into programs and into some positions that I believe are duplicate positions. And I believe we can make cuts there that could add to the funding to fund the unfunded liability that we have when it comes to the pensions. This is an issue that's going to be around for a long time unless we start taking care of it now. We can't continue pushing it off. We can't continue taking out bonds as a city. We can't continue indebting ourselves for the future. But we also need to make sure that we take care of the men and women who are working for us. You know, I have a member of my family who was working for the city of Miami, and he was cut out 2 years before his pension came through, before he was vested. That can't happen in a city like Coral Gables. And I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen, but I'm also going to make sure that we find a way to address our unfunded liability.
Thank you. Rip Holmes, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Thank you very much. One of our candidates here, Sandra Murato, a few years ago pointed out that the city's pensions are better than the state's, better than yours probably, certainly better than mine, and we can't afford it. We're still climbing out of the Great Recession, and I won't take up a lot of your time, but I think the city people who have these pensions have to realize we're all equal here. Their golden pensions need to come down.
Thank you. P.J. Mitchell? Let's keep the applause down, please.
Yes, this is an issue that we have previously dealt with on previous election, and it's something that the city has been dealing with. I'm going to reassert my previous position, and that is that we need to have a defined contribution plan for all new employees. However, in the same breath, we have a lot of great men and women that work for the city, and we need to keep our original promises that were made to them, and we must move forward in that direction if we're ever going to move to a solid position for the city.
Sandra Murato?
Thank you. Our current pension liability is $243 million. Those benefits are unsustainable. We can't afford that. When the revenue was there, when the times were good, over 5 or 6 years ago or more, we just didn't take care of that responsibility. We didn't pay down that debt. We should have paid down that debt. We have a responsibility to look at our revenue. We have a responsibility to meet our obligations to our police, fire, and general employees so that we can continue to afford quality services, but at the same time, we need to be able to afford the services. So I would look at the revenue. I would find creative ways to allocate funds from our budget to pay down that debt. It's the equivalent of paying down your mortgage and sending in an extra mortgage payment a month so that your liability is less.
Thank you, Sandra. Tony Newell?
We are paying down that debt, and that's the tough thing. You see, we have $250 million in unfunded liability, as you all know, as the other candidates have said. And our contribution now is anywhere between $23 and $26 million a year. But about 20 of that is going to paying down the debt. Okay? Only a very small sliver is actually paying for benefits right now, due now. That's the problem. You know, no one was beating this drum as loudly as I was last time. I was beating on the discount rate drum, the assumption rate. Right now, we use an assumption rate in this city that's about 7.75%. That means when we invest our assets, we think that we're going to get 7.75% return when we're actually getting nowhere close to that. And we're kidding ourselves. And then we have to amortize this, right? And then we have to bring this down, this unfunded liability down in 30 years. And so we're just, I mean, we can pay for streetscape, ladies and gentlemen, in cash with what we contribute to the unfunded liability in 1 year alone. So, of course, we have to do something. Is it easy? Do we take more from police? Do we take more from fire employees? I don't think so.
Thank you, Tony. Jeanette Sleznick.
I agree in most part with Ariel and PJ. We do have a problem with the pension. It is being solved. It is being mediated by the city. I would like to see continued hiring practices that make our police and firefighters competitive when we're hiring them, to make sure we get the best police firefighters possible and to keep up our A+ rating with those departments. You can't, I was talking to the city manager the other day, and she was just talking about trying to have as many educated, highest educated officers and so forth. We do need to work with the pension plan, and I think with our new city manager and her ideas that we're going to be fine in that direction. And once the city mediates this problem, we are going to be paying down that debt. It is $25 million a year, and we just can't. But we also need to have something sustainable for the citizens of Coral Gables as well as the police and fire departments.
Thank you, Jeanette. All right, the next question will be to Tony Newell because it's an issue that you brought up. You mentioned streetscape. Let me ask you, who should pay for the $20 million Miracle Mile streetscape project? Right now, the breakdown is 50% property owners on and around the mile and 50% from the city. Is it fair to the business owners and to residential property owners on Miracle Mile, or would you like to see a different funding formula?
No, I think the funding formula is about right. I think the business owners, for the most part, think it's about right because they're going to benefit the most from this. But of course, we benefit the most from this. You know, about 55% or so of our revenue comes from 5% of our footprint, and that's downtown. And the heart of downtown is Miracle Mile. So for all of us, if we want, thank you, if we want, increased quality of life, if we want new roads, new sidewalks, new trees, we want more police officers so that we're safe, we want more equipment for them, then we really need to make sure that we invest in our commercial sector, which again, is downtown, it's particularly Miracle Mile. So I think that the funding split is just about right. Unfortunately, it is new debt for us. It is something that we had to float bonds for. Could we have paid for it outright? Well, sure, if we didn't have pensions leaching from us. Would that have been necessarily the right way to go? I don't know. I think you do have to defer these costs a little bit so that future generations who get to enjoy this, who get to enjoy the streetscape, also have some skin in the game. So, no, I do think the funding is about right, and I think it's long overdue.
Okay. Thank you. Jeanette Slesnick, 1 minute rebuttal.
I'm really concerned about Miracle Mile, and we need to improve it. It's unfortunate that so many of the buildings owned on Miracle Mile are by foreign or out of state and out of city investors who do control the looks and the feel of Miracle Mile. We do need to support it, because Miracle Mile has about 300,000 square feet of office, retail, and not office necessarily, but retail space and restaurants and so forth. And on the proposed development over on the Agave Mediterranean project, we have another 300,000 square feet of retail space coming on ponds between Sevilla and Malaga. So I'm very concerned about Miracle Mile succeeding. We don't want to have a ghost town in downtown Coral Gables. So it's very important that we support the streetscape.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. Ariel? Yeah, we have to share the mic.
I agree with Jeanette in the fact that the Agave project is something that I'm concerned with as well. And as far as the streetscape, one of the largest concerns that I have is in Coral Gables over the last few years, we've really been lackadaisical about maintaining the things that we've been doing. We're very good about doing things, but we're not very good about maintaining them. Fire station number 1 is a perfect example. I can't believe that the fire station where most of our firefighters are currently at is falling apart. So if we're investing this money in the streetscape project, I think it's important that we maintain the streetscape after this project is concluded. And I know there are still questions about what we're going to be doing with that project. Many of our residents have been asking about a bicycle path there for bicycle safety. Others have been asking for increased parking. We're reducing 96 parking spaces, and we're only building our parking garages after the streetscape project is completed. So we're going to reduce by 96 parking spaces, then we're going to take down a parking garage with 260 parking spaces. That's a problem.
Rip Holmes?
Well, thank you. As a long-term Miracle Mile property owner, my family started in 1930. My grandfather knew George Merrick. In fact, George Merrick apparently helped my grandfather choose which property to buy. I have very serious reservations about the streetscape, mostly related to what Ariel said about reducing parking. We all, I think, have a general idea that when you're going to a retail destination, if you can't find parking, guess what? You can go you'll probably end up thinking about going to another place. I think that's a terrible idea. If it's true what Tony said, that there's a bond issue, that's a tax. We should not accept a tax for this flawed concept. Some of the aspects of it, though, are good, repairing the sidewalks and what have you. Thank you.
PJ?
Yes. I am a proponent of the streetscape plan and had stated so in the previous election. I believe that we needed it to compete with other municipalities, not only in Miami-Dade County, but in South Florida. It is a good plan, and right now they are in the design phase of the plan, and I suspect that they will start permitting the end of the summer, and the implementation phase will start shortly thereafter. I believe it is something that we needed, and I support it. One last thing I do want to add, I do believe it's important regarding the streetscape plan is that we stagger this project at different times with other projects within the community so that we don't fall into the trap of having severe traffic problems. And we don't want to adversely affect Miracle Mile in the retail sectors.
Sandra?
Every city needs a main street, and Miracle Mile is our main street. I am backing the streetscape. I believe the allocation is correct. I believe that the contractor and the preparations for starting the streetscape will be beginning in approximately May. That's what we learned. I believe it was on June 17th. So I encourage all of you who are here to please pay attention to the email blast. If you're not on the City of Coral Gables email list, please do so. Please get involved. Please participate. It is not too late. This is not a done deal with respect to how it's going to happen. Your input matters. It matters. So be heard, show up, and attend all the meetings that deal with how this is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for Jeanette Slesnick. Jeanette, we're seeing a lot of development in Coral Gables. Are all these big residential projects going up around the city a good thing, or is our growth a little out of control? As a commissioner, would you continue our current rate of growth or vote to change it?
That's a difficult question, and I do support commercial growth, and we need it. 60% of our tax base is paid by commercial development, as only 40% is going to residential. I would like to point out a couple of things. As president of the Gables Good Government, we have this all online at the GGG website, which you can look for, but we put out a magazine, we put out a newsletter 4 times a year. We put out this magazine, and this is all about commercial development, Coral Gables, which you can find online, and we have a few copies. And the streetscape's also in here. We have, in the next year and a half to 2.5 years, 3 million square feet of new development coming on in the Gables. And right now we have about 2 million square feet in downtown Coral Gables of commercial space. And I spent about 3 weeks, once we had more access to the city websites and more information was allowed to be dispersed from the building departments and so forth when Kathy came into office and became our city manager. I don't know if you can see this, and I'd like to stand up. We have 18 high-rises of 16 floors or higher. They're trying to go ahead and make them 18 stories. 16 floors of stories high-rises coming up in Coral Gables. And there's one right after another, and plus around 12 10-story or less buildings and so forth, and the Aloft Hotel and a new Publix and so forth. If anybody would like to see this after the meeting or go online, I'm just very concerned about it. But on the other hand, it's great for our community, and we need to have things like this to keep our tax base down. We just need to ensure that we have the proper guidelines and adherence to the planning and zoning codes so that we have traffic solutions. We have parking in these buildings, and they're not trying to limit the number of parking spaces but have adequate parking spaces.
Thank you. Tony?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. Development. It's obviously it's something that we need to an extent. You'll hear candidates say responsible growth, responsible development. That's sort of the cliche that you always hear. My feeling is you need a responsible discussion about development first. Okay, 3 million square feet. That's true. I heard Jeanette also say that we have our current zoning code is very protective. That's also true. The vast majority of that 3 million square feet is by rights, meaning there's really nothing this city can do right now to stop it, okay, with the current zoning code. So I think a responsible discussion starts with 2 places. One, that some growth is going to happen no matter what, we better cope with it. We need to talk about infrastructure. how our traffic, how our parking is going to work out with these new buildings, how we're going to be able to handle the flow, how we're going to handle the flow as we're the cut-through city from other cities like Brickell and South Miami and Coconut Grove doing the very same thing. Thank you.
Sandra?
Thank you. All of the projects that were discussed, or the ones that are in the pipeline, so to speak, were outlined and set forth in a Business Monday edition that came out and talked about the greatness of Coral Gables and how we're a center and a hub and a wonderful city. We do have a lot of new projects and development going up. At this point, they've gone through the process, and what we need to do is continue to keep our standards, stick to our strict codes, and I believe that we need to have community input so that we can have our community standards in place whenever any sort of development takes place.
PJ?
Yes. I am for preserving our community through controlled development. Not every development project is a good project. You have to have smart, balanced development. And I can sit here and I'm going to tell each and every one of you that I am not going to support any project that would substantially alter the fabric of our community. I'm going to tell you, we have spent 90 years developing this great city of ours, all the leaders before us, and I am concerned, and I do not want to see in the next 36 months our community to be substantially altered or changed. Thank you.
Rip?
Thank you all. First, I want to apologize to you if I've come across a little bit negative in the last remarks. What I am for, and I beg you to accept my apology there, is a department store for Miracle Mile. We can preserve a low-rise retail by adding a department store and a redeveloped parking garage. So I beg you to accept what I'm telling you that I am for, what I'm trying to lift up here, which is a department store on Miracle Mile. It anchors it, probably makes you more likely to shop there, and we can keep our suburban feel. Getting now to the question at hand, Dorothy Thompson taught me years ago that people have property rights. It's almost illegal to say no to many of these projects. She's very eloquent. We all love her, and she kind of answered the question. We don't have the right to tell people what they can't do with their property very much. The one thing, though, that I think is we can go for signature buildings. Think of the most beautiful buildings.
Thank you, Rip.
Like Alhambra Towers.
Ariel?
I am concerned with the rate of development that we have in the city. And I don't really want to cope with it. I want to do something about it. There is such a thing as responsible development. And I think right now we're not moving on that trend. We have a pro-development commission right now, and we see it in the money that's going into campaigns. Developers are funding campaigns right now. And it's clear. They want to buy the votes. They want to make sure that their projects go up. The Agave project is one that has brought a lot of controversy to the neighbors in that area. This is a residential neighborhood where that project is going up. And we're encroaching into residential neighborhoods. There are residents by cross US 1. The Holiday Inn, they're planning on tearing that down. Building a structure that's going to require 800 parking spaces. Those 800 parking spaces are going to be accessible through Caballero. So it's a residential street that's going to be fielding that parking lot. That is a problem. We cannot continue to encroach in our residential neighborhoods. We have a huge traffic problem. We need to figure out a way to stop that.
Thank you, Ariel. The next question is for Sandra Morato. Let's give her the microphone. Sandra, in recent years, it's been hard to know if crime has been up or down in Coral Gables because of the controversy over how the city tracks crime statistics. Can you shed any light on whether crime is increasing or decreasing in Coral Gables, and what should be done about it?
One crime is one crime too many. Whether it's increasing or decreasing, it's a matter of flux. It will go up and it will go down. So I'm going to go to the solution. And the solution is patrolling, Personally, before this current interim chief, Ed Hudak, we had our city in 4 zones. Currently, under our interim chief, we are now divided in 12 zones. Let's make no mistake. Patrolling prevents crime. I encourage and am a proponent of what our current chief has done. He assigns patrol officers, police officers to a zone. 2 officers in my zone. I'm in North Gables, 1503. Officer Coleman, Officer Toledo. I know them. I know their patrol cars. They come around. Neighbors need to know who they are. We need to watch out for one another. That's how you prevent crime. That will deter people from coming in. The key is to prevent. And that is one way of preventing it.
Thank you, Sandra. I don't know, which way should we go? Let's go this way. Go to PJ. 1 minute rebuttal.
Sure. We're lucky to live in Coral Gables, and statistics may tell you that crime is down. I can tell you this, if you're a victim of that crime, it's one too many. So if we want to truly solve the issue, and first of all, we must say that our goal should always be to reduce crime. You will never eliminate it, but to help solve the problems, we need to invest in technology for our police officers. And right now, we only have 25 patrol police officers, and I'd like to see that number increase.
Rip?
Thank you. What an important subject. Mayor Corrigan once told me that the 3 things that voters care most about in Coral Gables, perhaps any city, is police, fire, and trash pickup. I agree with Ms. Slesnick. We need more police officers. We need to support our police more. I'm one of the people who believes that there's more crime out there than is being recognized. Myself, I was a victim of a burglary. I'm glad personally that Chief Hudak is where he is. I think he's doing a better job, and I think we need to intensify our efforts.
Ariel?
16 vacancies in the police department is 16 vacancies too many, and I think we have to thank the police officers that we have on our streets right now because they're doing a pretty decent job of fighting crime understaffed. This Saturday night, even though my wife thought I was crazy for doing it, and I never let my mother know, I actually did a ride-along with the police department. I did part of the evening shift, and I did part of the midnight shift. And it was an eye-opening experience. I think every resident should do that one day, just to experience what a police officer goes through every day. Crime is a large issue. It's the issue that got me involved in this election. It's the issue that I'm running in this election. I think we need to help our police department. I'm fully supportive of Interim Chief Hudak and the actions that he has already taken. I think we need to add lighting to our streets. If we have lighting in our more lighting in our streets, we'll definitely be able to fight crime a lot better. When we were driving down those streets patrolling, we couldn't even see the house numbers in some of the streets from how dark those streets are.
Thank you. Let's move the mic to Tony. Or Jeanette. Go ahead, Jeanette.
I agree with Ariel on streetlights, which is also one of the big reasons why crime could be lowered. I live on North and Greenway, and about 25% of the lights are out around North and South Greenway, where we have joggers jogging every night, taking their lives into their hands. Also, we are down, I was told, 19 police officers and 1 police car and a lack of radios and so forth. We really have a lack of equipment, which the police need. So I would really like to see us increase the number of police officers, have them all out on the streets that can be, and have a very visible police force. We have dedicated police and fire and sanitation workers. They do a great job, and we're lucky to live in the city of Coral Gables and have such fine city employees. And so, again, street lighting and increasing the number of police officers is what I really feel we need to lessen the crime. We're not going to get rid of it.
Jeanette, thank you. Tony?
Everyone's saying things that make sense. Everyone wants more patrol. The current police chief, I just had lunch with him a few weeks ago. He's working on that. We want more police officers. His goal is to hire 25 more this year, and he's 24% of the way there already. Okay? Yes, we don't have gang violence. We don't have drugs being sold in street corners. We don't have people waking up on Madrid, ripping off someone on Sorolla and going home. We have crime from outside the city. And what do you do with that? You deter it, right? You're preventative. You're proactive. And we're doing all those things. And those things, I think, will take place. What I'd like to see done is to go further. I'd like to see each police officer have a quota like they have for, you hear about them having to write speeding tickets or whatnot. I'd like them to have to meet 2 new residents a day. Knock on your door and get to know you each day. And so that at some point, everyone will know their officers. I'd also like to see, and I'm working on this with the communication board, is develop a Crime Watch app. Because this city's getting younger.
Thanks, Tony.
Sure.
Our next question is to Rip Holmes. If we can set the mic this way. Rip, we have a new acting police chief in Coral Gables. You mentioned him. How would you rate the job Ed Hudak is doing, and should he get the job permanently?
Well, I'm smiling because I shouldn't say this, but I got to speak. I got to say something, right? Ed Hudak's my homeboy, and the police have a tough job, and it's easy for anyone to criticize people in the past or this or that. But one thing that I wonder if most of you might not agree with me on this. We've just been going through the Great Recession. Crime is going to go up, right? And Ed Hudak was one of the people who fought to expose the fact that crime has gone up a little bit. Maybe not as much as some people thought, but I think his heart is in the right place. Yeah, let's make my homeboy permanent chief.
PJ, go ahead.
Sure. I think he's doing a very responsible job. I believe he is very responsive to the residents. I've spoken to a number of them as I knocked on the doors. And there's, like I previously have stated, there's always going to be crime, folks. But we have to work together as a city, as a community, as a team, to help eliminate that to the best of our ability. And I do believe that he is the right person for the job.
Sandra?
Interim Chief Ed Hudak is a 27-year veteran of the force. It's the only force he's worked for. He's moved up the rank and file. He has the respect of his colleagues. I think he has the respect of this community. And I don't throw flowers easily. He has my respect, and I would move to make him permanent.
Tony?
Yeah, it's always good when a cop's your homeboy. But no, I agree with everyone. I think he's doing a fantastic job. And to return to something I was saying before, I had a meeting with him, and I did pitch a Crime Watch app to him, which he actually gave me a lot of good feedback on. And the Crime Watch app would allow everyone to download an app on their phone and then be a member of Crime Watch instead of having to call 442-1600. And when you see something suspicious on your street, a white van that doesn't look like it belongs, or someone on a bike that's up to no good or acting funny, you just go into your phone and you type that in. And then what it does is it sends an alert, just like an Amber Alert, to everyone else in Crime Watch so that they know that something's suspicious on their street. And then the police, they don't have to respond to it, but they can monitor it and then see clusters of activity and respond to it. This is what I'm talking about, moving in the right direction, moving forward, because we have different challenges, but also different tools that we can utilize. And I think Chief Hudak is right on board with that.
Jeanette?
Tony, I really agree with you about the app. Dorothy Thompson was very active in Crime Watch a long time ago, and we used to have a vibrant, active Crime Watch committee, and with lots of neighborhoods involved, which is really great because you have your neighbors' phones and emails and so forth, and you can look out for your neighborhood. And I think it's gone downhill in the last 5 or 6 years. It's something that should be funded, and they cut back the funding for the Crime Watch. So something like this with the app would be wonderful. And I am very supportive of Ed Hudak. I didn't know he was a homeboy, but that's a new term I learned tonight. But I think he presents a presence, and he's also very communicative with the residents, and they respect him, and he's been out a lot on Crime Watch meetings, and I just very supportive of Ed Hudak, and I think he has respect of his department and of the citizens of Coral Gables.
Ariel Fernandez, send the mic over.
I agree. I was actually there at the meeting that we got Ed Hudak appointed as interim police chief. It wasn't a pretty day for the city of Coral Gables. I was one of the residents who spoke at the commission meeting. We had over 200 people there, and the message was clear from every resident. They wanted Ed Hudak to be our chief. 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with Kathy Swanson, and the first issue that I addressed was, when are you going to make Ed Hudak our permanent chief? I think he's done a great job with the department. I had walked into the department before Ed Hudak with Chief Weiner, and I walked into the department after, and the morale in that police department is completely different. The smiles on the faces of those officers, they're happy to go to work now. And he's extremely supportive of his team, of his officers, and he's done a superb job as police chief.
Ariel, thank you. Rip Holmes, let me ask you a question, because everybody here seems to be in favor. We need to hire more police officers. They need patrol cars. They need better equipment. How do you propose paying for it?
Well, I'm not sure that all of the positions that have been budgeted have been hired. I think that there's positions that are funded where we haven't made the hires. Am I wrong? I believe that's the case. I mean, every year I listen to these budget hearings, just as there's some things that put you to sleep. But usually every year in the budget hearings, I used to brag about I went through 10 years of listening, attending from start to finish 2/3 of all the commission meetings. Almost every year that I've been there, they've had positions that they never end up filling. Now, I mean, there's reasons that they don't fill them. There's not enough qualified candidates. There's this, there's that, the other. But I'm not sure that we have to spend more money. We need to fill the positions that are there.
Okay.
If someone can contradict me, go ahead.
PJ, go ahead.
Sure. In terms of hiring, we have to do it on a gradual basis. Just like a small business grows, you're still going to have to find the dollars through the General Revenue Fund and be able to fund those. Now, as I previously stated, we have to deal with the pension issue as well, and as I said, we would make all new employees from the fire and the other services part of the not part of the contribution plan. So I think what we have to do is work together through the budget to find those dollars which would support the technology and the new officers, but it has to be done on a gradual basis.
Sandra?
Rip, you're right. The budget has allocated the funds, so the funds would not have to be searched for. They're there. They're separated. They're ready to fund a 100% police force. It's a matter of finding the quality police officers with the high standards that we expect from the finest Coral Gables police officers that we have. And unless they meet that criteria, we're not going to hire them. And so you need to carefully find that candidate. But as far as the money is there. And when the right candidate comes along, his or her salary and pension benefits in place have been allocated.
Tony?
I'm going to borrow from PolitiFact, and they say something's half true. It's half true. The money is there, but we actually need to go past what's budgeted already. The chief wants to go past that. He wants to go beyond what we already have slated, because we know the city is growing. How fast it grows is up to us and to you, but it is growing, and you need vertical patrol. So as the city grows, you need new officers who can go up to the 16th floor, the 15th floor of a building, and we don't have that. So yes, the majority of the officers we take on, we have the money for, but we don't have the money for, or we don't have it budgeted for the rest. And so where do we get it? Just very, very smart budgeting. Okay, there's a lot of sloth in our budget right now. There are things that we can pick and choose from to do this, and I think life safety is a priority in this city. So if we need extra officers to patrol the new areas, then God bless it. I say we find the money somewhere in the budget, and I know I can do that. Thank you.
Jeanette?
Being short 19 to 20 police officers for the last 4 years has saved the city $2 million each year on those police officers and their pensions and their retirement funds. I suggest that a lot of neighbors who have been robbed would rather have had the money for the police officers and not lost so much from their homes in robberies and other robberies and burglaries at their homes. So the money is in the budget. The city has been saving $2 million a year, but it's been going into the reserves. So the city of Coral Gables has a very, very large reserve fund right now, but at the sake of public safety.
You guys pass the mic down to poor Ariel doesn't have to get up every time. Sure. It's all right. There you go. Tony's getting a little exercise too.
I could use the exercise. We have 191 positions that we have budgeted for, and currently 176 of those are filled. We have new projects that are coming into the city that have already been approved. That'll increase our tax revenue, so we will have additional funding for that. The police and the fire are both in need of additional personnel. Fire needs probably another 4 or 5 firefighters because of the rate of growth that we have in high rises. We're looking at projects that are going to be 16 stories. We need firefighters to fight those fires in case of those fires. The firefighters are also something we don't know. They're not eligible for Social Security benefits. So when we talk about pensions, it's important to talk about the firefighters in Coral Gables who don't have access to Social Security. So when we're considering cutting those pensions, it's important to include them in the conversation as well.
Thanks. All right, the next question will be to PJ Mitchell. PJ, do you support or oppose the Miami-Dade School Board policy of controlled choice? Should it remain in effect or should it change? And if so, how would you change it?
We all know this has been a very hot issue the past 6 months. I'm not running for the school board. I believe that families, first of all, should be provided the proper notice. I believe that this is an issue that at this point I do not believe that controlled choice should be abolished. I don't think we're ready for it. I don't. I think over the next 12 months the school board should actually take a hard look at it, study it, because there are a lot of unintended consequences. And I'll be frank with you, I don't think as a city we should jump and make a position where it may substantially alter young families. And so at this point, what I would propose is that we study the issue for another 12 months. And I can tell you, sitting here today, I would not direct the city attorney to challenge the school choice. Thank you.
Okay, PJ. Pass it over.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Thank you.
You got the mic.
I got the mic. I sure do. Okay, thanks. This matter is not in our hands. This matter, fortunately, unfortunately, is not in the jurisdiction of this commission. It is in the jurisdiction of the school board. It always has been. It was at the suggestion of the commission, 5-0, to say evaluate it. We had different meetings, different town hall meetings. The issue of due process and notice are issues that are absolutely of the utmost importance. However, at the end of the day, my problem is the school board notice and the way that they handle their calendar. And maybe they need to supplement their policies so that in the future, parents and community members can be provided with input as to how they can participate in this process. So, as residents, as parents, I encourage you to follow the school board and make your voice known.
Thank you, PJ.
And go to the June meeting because the
Tony,
school board votes.
Tony, I'm trying to read the questions. Tony.
Yeah, this is another tough one. I'm of the belief that if something's broken, you either fix it or get rid of it. Controlled choice, no matter what you think of it, is broken, okay? And I have 2 problems with it. One, it doesn't achieve the goal it's supposed to achieve. It hasn't for a long time. You know that because this is the only district in which it's left, okay? Everyone's abandoned it, but in the Gables, okay? 2, I don't take kindly to children being used as political vessels. If you want increased diversity, if you have other social engineering schemes in mind, you don't use children for it. Your children are your children. You should have the control and you should have the choice. Period. End of story. That's how I feel about it. Is it easy to fix? No. But I do think we could expand maybe the role of our education advisory board so that the solutions come from you guys who are affected by it and not czars up on a commission or in a school board somewhere. And that's how I feel about it. Thanks.
Jeanette?
I think it's already a done deal that controlled choice is going to be ruled out. I'm talking to Raquel Regalado and Marta Perez, our school board representatives for Coral Gables. So this is really not an issue, and we're going to go into the same system that the rest of Dade County is in. What I would like to see, it also helps that children will know where they're going to school more than 2 or 3 weeks before school. What I would like to see is that we improve and the city works with our school system, especially for the Coral Gables schools, and that all are improved as much as they can be improved. And some parents don't want their children to go to certain schools and so forth, and I see that. But I would like to have us, the city as itself, more involved with all the schools. I've been involved in every PTA and every school system that's a feeder pattern for Coral Gables Elementary and Ponce and Carver Middle and Coral Gables High School. Right now, 88% of the students that could go to Coral Gables High School do not attend. They go to private schools.
Thanks, Jeanette. Ariel?
I agree. The controlled choice system has run its course. I do believe that the process has been fumbled, though. I believe to a certain point we were including parents in the process, and we did take enough time to inform them of what the changes were going to be. When it came down to drawing the maps, we excluded parents. Parents were out of the equation, and by then it was too late. The process in the school board is flawed. I think that needs to be changed, but as many of my opponents said, it's not something that we can change from the city of Coral Gables. If I were to have done it, I would have asked for 1 year to figure out what those maps would have been. I would have done surveys to parents to see exactly if they wanted the change and how they wanted that change to be implemented and how they wanted those borders drawn. And I agree with Jeanette. I think we need to help our schools. Our schools should be the best schools in the country, and our students' education should be a #1 priority.
Rip?
Thank you. As we know, the city, I believe, inserted itself into the debate by passing a resolution to ask the school board to end or abolish or terminate the controlled choice. So that's how it gets before us. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a subject for the city commission. Personally, I think it's great that so many parents are out there. There's nothing more important to parents and their children. That's how evolution happens. And we didn't get a true consensus, I'm afraid, on which way is better. I happen to be a cautious person. I'd want to see a little more time before I made up my mind, because it is an important issue. I had a kid in Carver, and then he got transferred to Coral Gables Elementary. These are contentious issues. It's a tough situation.
Okay. Since you have the mic, Rip, let me ask you a question from the audience. How are you going to address the overdevelopment and the ensuing traffic along with stretching the natural resources in Coral Gables?
Could you repeat it? Sorry.
The question is, how are you going to address overdevelopment and the ensuing traffic along with stretching the natural resources in Coral Gables?
Thank you very much. There's a three-part question there. So overdevelopment, traffic, and stretching and infrastructure. Because every time you build a building, you got to make sure there's enough water, there's enough sewage, the roads that are going to be beaten down more are going to be strong enough to take it, and so on. And I have this plan. I would ask of you all to think in your own minds, what is your favorite building in all of Miami-Dade County? Because I'm in real estate, I made a project of this. I have some favorites. Like, I love the Bacardi building. I happen to like the Bank of America building downtown, the one that lights up and stuff. I like the Biltmore. And I would like to see our development go along those lines of those signature buildings. Now, Coral Gables is good on traffic. We have the Plumber and Associates. We come up, we got a lot of traffic circles. We have inventive ways of dealing with that. As for the infrastructure, so far we haven't had a lot of problems. You said brief, that's brief.
Okay.
Sure. I'm going to reassert my previous position regarding development. I am for preserving our quality of life through controlled development. And I have previously stated that we have to have smart, balanced development. And I have said that not every project is a good project. And I am not for any project that would alter the fabric of our community. And that's how I feel about this. I have said that, let me tell you something, development in the next 36 months is going to be Coral Gables' key issue. You will see it. It is here. And we must be careful of the density.
Sandra?
As I previously stated, I believe that anything dealing with development needs to take into account community standards and community input. And with that, you need to look at the effect of traffic, which alters our quality of life. I don't know if there's a whole lot that we can do, but we can do creative things to minimize that anxiety and that level of stress with all the traffic that we have. So we need to find creative ways and use our trolley system, perhaps carpool more, perhaps find other methods of transporting, getting to work, getting to school. But the traffic, unfortunately, as the city grows, as our community south in Metro Miami-Dade grows, traffic is a problem. We need to have better public transportation. Is that something that the city of Coral Gables is completely responsible for? It's not in their jurisdiction. But there are other creative ways to alleviate traffic, and it's something that needs to be studied with every development project.
Thanks. Tony?
Yeah, we definitely need to control growth. We know that. And I think one of the things we can do is take a page from our past. Remember, this was a planned city. And it was a city that was built on a vision. And I don't know why we can't have a vision today, a master plan, a master development plan, so that we know which direction we're going and we don't have this sort of ad hoc zoning code that people could just take advantage of when they please. Okay? That would address that. But we still can't address the development that's taking place everywhere else in order to compete with us. You have development all around us in Dade County. Dade County is growing at about 4% a year. Okay? That means it'll double in both size and massively increase in density by the time the next generation comes of age. So how do we deal with that and the traffic coming through? I personally can't stand the fact that people use this as a cut-through city and think it's a Formula One proving ground, going 60 miles an hour down Sorolla or Madrid. I also can't stand that people, because there's no one who lives in the city, it's people not from here who want to text while they drive. I don't know how many times I've almost been hit or my dog's almost been hit with people texting while they're driving. And I know this, in Pinecrest,
Tony.
you don't speed because of enforcement. And I think enforcement will go a long way here.
Jeanette?
My office is at 2701 Ponce, which is right next to the Agave project, where 1.5 million square feet is coming in. And right now, they're talking about reducing the number of parking spaces. And I also would like to see that, and I'm totally against that. And I also would like to see insets in the sidewalk. They want to go out to the street with the sidewalks and cut out the parking spaces, is places for the trolley to pull over. Because if you're going to have a lot of traffic, foot traffic at that location, and more trolleys coming to that location, already the trolleys block Ponce on one lane when you're coming down it. So it's almost impossible. We have to wait for the lights to get out of our own office space. Traffic is inevitable, and construction and new projects are inevitable. But we need to really look into all sorts of ways that we can, like Sandra said, have community input and not just have things passed in blank by the Planning and Zoning
Thanks,
Board.
Jeanette. Send the mic over to Ariel. Pass it. You can just pass it down.
We definitely do not have a master plan as a city. For way too long, we're going a day at a time, a week at a time, a year at a time, and we really don't know what direction we're going in. We're approving projects left and right without knowing what impact they're going to have. We had a traffic meeting last week to discuss traffic south of Bird Road. There are 3 blocks there that are heavily affected by cut-through traffic. It was sad to hear from residents that 25 years ago they signed a petition to address this issue, and still today there hasn't been a resolution. In fact, this was the first meeting they've had in 25 years to address the issue. I think we need to include, as Sandra was saying, include residents in the process. I think we need to have more community meetings, figure out exactly where the problems are. The city doesn't know where every problem is. It's sad to say that some city staffers are always in City Hall. They're not aware of what the issues in the city are. So it's important to get out in the streets, figure out where the problems are, to figure out solutions for them.
Okay. You hit this one. Yeah, yeah. No, give it back to Ariel because we have a question from the audience to you. And this question says that you propose to eliminate the residential garbage fee. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How would you fund garbage pickup in the city of Coral Gables?
Very good question, and I'm glad I got that question. Every year, we pay $812 in garbage. It's not a tax, so we can't declare it on our income taxes. It's just a fee that's assessed in addition to the high taxes that we already pay in the city of Coral Gables. And I definitely believe we can get rid of that. It comes out to about 5% of our annual budget, and there are ways to cut back our budget. I actually sat down with a municipal budget expert to go over our city's budget. And we realized there was $1.8 million in some staff positions that are duplicate staff positions. I don't believe we need assistants to the assistant to the assistant. And we have some departments where you have 2 people who are the director and the assistant director, and then you have 3 employees under them. You know, we're spending a lot of money on staffing. We're very top-heavy, and that's one way we can cut it. Additionally, we're going to have new projects. They've already been approved. We're going to have increased revenue streams from those projects. Those will help compensate for the measly $8.6 million that we pay in garbage fee every year. It comes out to 5% of our $155 million budget. So we can definitely do it. I believe it is something that could help a lot of families. A lot of young families have moved into the city. $812 could go a long way. Residents who are retired, they have a fixed income. I mean, my neighbor lives on a military pension, $16,000 a year. You know, those $812 consist of a large portion of his paycheck every year. That could go a long way. He could help, repair his house or pay for his cell phone, which he can't afford right now. There are definitely things we can do to improve the quality of life of our residents by removing that without affecting in any way, shape, or form the services that we already receive.
Rip?
Well, I'm glad that this issue came up. I don't know how high it is on your priorities, but if it gives me a chance to tell you what my priorities would be if you elect me city commissioner. My priorities are good police, good fire, and good trash pickup. So if Ariel has taken the bone and said, let's eliminate the fee, I'm supportive. I'm not sure if I'm ready to go with the total elimination of the fee, but I believe that that the fee should come down, and we can probably find ways to do it. I don't know if you all have the same feeling I do, but I've seen a lot of high salaries at the city that don't seem to be getting earned as well as you're earning your salary. Thanks.
PJ?
Well, to address the issue of priorities, next 24, 36 months, we need to focus on the issue of development. We need to focus on the issue of safety. We need to focus on the issue of security. And I can tell you, each and every one of you, we're all here, look around, we all care, we have standing room only, and that is a truly great thing. I believe that when we all work together, we're going to be able to solve all of our future problems as long as we work together as a team on it.
Sandra?
Thanks, PJ. $812 is what the total would be if you pay quarterly. If you pay 1 year ahead, it's $729. From that $812, 84% of it covers employees and expenditures, 16% is city subsidies. With all the walking that I've done, with all the people that I've talked to, not one person that I've talked to has complained about the excellent quality of garbage collection that we have in our city. We have a higher level of service, bar none. I think we are only one of 2 municipalities, Key Biscayne being the other. This is labor intensive. We have side yard collection. It comes twice a week. Once a week we have major pickup. This excellent service. Yes, $812 is $812, but I think that if you get excellent service and everybody's happy with it, then I don't think we need to fix what's not broken.
Tony?
Yeah,
Tony?
sure. So our expenditures for solid waste are about 10 million, and these fees bring in about 8 million, which means there's still a shortfall. So I don't know how Ariel's going to cut out the 8 million, still find money for the police officers, and then fund everything else we want, all the goodies in the grab bag as well. You know, if you know this city, you do know that our garbage collection is near and dear to us. We know our guys, they come to the side of our house. We don't want to touch that. And if you know this city well, you know that our police officers use them as eyes and ears to prevent crime. Our police officers will tell you that garbage men, our garbage collectors, they're the ones who are responsible for giving them the tips most of the time. They're the ones who know your home. They know if a window's been broken. They know if a door looks funny. They know what's going on because they care about you. And so if you're going to cut that out with $8 million and hire new, I have a bridge to sell you. That's all I can tell you.
Jeanette?
I love my garbage collectors, and I've had the same 2 or 3 or 4 for about 20 years. And I think the services that we have in Coral Gables are excellent, par none. In 1984, when Mayor Chapman was mayor, there was a program that he suggested where we had the automatic pickup for our trash collections, just like in the county, with those huge 5 feet high, maybe 4.5 feet high, big green containers. And most of us have so much foliage around our house, it would not fit in each week. I led a campaign to get petitions collected. We raised 2,000 petitions in about 2 weeks, interviewed the different garbage systems around the United States that had both the side yard pickup, and we got about 300 people to come out to the commission meeting to retain our side yard pickup, but this was back in 1984, and we won. But it's because of citizens' involvement, signing the petitions and coming to City Hall and protesting that we were able to maintain that.
We're running short on time, so feel free to keep your answers shorter to get in more questions. Sandra Morato, do you have any ideas to resolve the problems with housing the Coral Gables trolleys?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Okay. Tell us.
The cost of building the public safety for the trolley and the maintenance of the trolley costs approximately $5 million. $4 million of which the developer, after the fiasco that we experienced, is willing to pay. So the city has to come up with $1 million. If that building is going to be I recommend that it be placed where the fire station 2 is on US 1, which has the appropriate zoning. It will not affect residents. It is appropriate, and in fact, I'd go as far as to say that I would even move the police headquarters there and have a central location, because that building that's where they're housed is falling down, and they need to have an adequate place to have their administrative offices. So I would propose moving that facility to the Fire Station 2, which is on US 1, where the zoning is in place, and make that happen, and it doesn't affect the residents, and it's a solution. And that's it. Thanks.
CJ?
Sure. I just would echo Ms. Sandra's position. I think it's something that we need to do, and we need to do it rather quickly. They're sitting out there unprotected, and that can cause a number of different issues for the city. So at this point, I would defer the rest of it to the other candidates.
Rip?
An embarrassing moment for me. I'm not that familiar with this particular issue, and I don't want to bluff it or take a position that I might regret. Obviously, the trolley is a great benefit to us, and you know, it helps to humanize our city, so we need to solve any of these issues.
Ariel?
We definitely need to find a location for the trolleys. However, residents in that area are not happy about having it in the area around US 1. So we definitely need to find another location. Some suggestions that have been made is maybe to build a facility at the current location where the trolleys are housed in 72nd Avenue, and that's something to consider. But speaking of priorities, it's also a priority to ensure that our firefighters have a firehouse and the police department, as Sandra was mentioning. That building is falling apart. On Saturday night, there was actually a flood inside just based on the rain that we had in the outside. Our fire trucks are not protected. That's very expensive equipment to have out in the streets. So those are priorities that we definitely need to have.
Okay, pass it over to Jeanette, please. Actually, Tony, go ahead.
Actually, you know, I want to applaud Rip for the answer. That's a hard answer to give, but I think it's the right one. Because it's tempting to sort of pander and pretend we know everything and we have everything figured out, when sometimes we don't. Because this is a tricky issue. If it weren't tricky, the city would have figured this out a long time ago. And it wouldn't have been thrust into litigation with a developer in another city and have a civil rights violation occur because of it. This is a tricky one. Where it should go, I would need to take a much closer look at all the candidate positions, because guess what? 72nd has a lot of issues. US 1 has a lot of issues. Everywhere you put it, there will be a lot of issues. Where it goes, I don't know. But I do know that when it gets in front of me, if I'm your commissioner, and that comes before me, what I will make sure is that it goes in the best place possible. That's all I can tell you. Thanks.
Jeanette?
I agree with Rip and Tony. This does need more study. And if we're going to have more development, we're going to have more people. Agave has proposed putting 4 or 5 more additional trolleys on as part of their compensation to the city for the size of their development. We're going to need a larger trolley garage. So I think it needs more study.
All right, I think we have time for one last question from the audience, and we've talked about a lot of issues, so this one puts everything in a nutshell. And I'll ask it to PJ because you're right in the middle. What is the most pressing issue facing Coral Gables, in your view?
Once again, I'm going to echo it. We have the issue of development next 24, 36 months, which is going to affect each and every one of us for multiple different reasons. We also have the issue of safety and security, which affects each and every one of us for obvious reasons. And I've said this, and I will continue to say this. We need to work together to preserve our quality of life. We've spent over 90 years as a community with different leaders, and we need to give each and every one of them praise for that. They've done a remarkable job of being stewards over the commission. And I do believe that those are the issues that we are facing, and that we have to work together as a team to resolve these issues.
Okay. Rip, biggest issues.
Thank you. You already know what my number one issue is, and which is what's going to happen. Are we going to lose the suburban feel of our city? I would imagine in a poll of all y'all today, and with our overflow crowd, it might come out to at least 75% don't want to lose the residential charm and character of Coral Gables. How many of you remember in this audience, what's so great about Coral Gables, everybody's very intelligent, so most of you perhaps remember in 2001, there was this wave of development. The City Hall was being redeveloped. Starwood Urban came in. Miracle Mile almost went to 15-story buildings in. And the development director, who almost took Miracle Mile into 15-story buildings, is now the city manager, the boss of the city. I tried to get a commitment from the city manager not to do that.
Rip.
I could not get that commitment.
Ariel?
The issues that I have heard residents talking about for the last 2 years are safety and development. Those are the 2 largest concerns that residents in this city have, whether it's safety because of crime, safety because they're pedestrians and we don't have enough sidewalks in the city, or pedestrian-friendly areas, or bicycles. A lot of cyclists that live in the city who are active, and they don't have a safe place to ride their bicycles. Development is a large issue. And as PJ said, it's going to be the large issue that's going to affect us the next few years. In 5 years, what's our city going to look like? Is it going to look like Brickell, or is it going to look like Coral Gables does today? And I think those are the 2 largest issues we have today.
Sandra?
If I had to choose one issue, it would be maintaining quality of life. Maintaining quality of life is the umbrella answer that I'm going to give, because I think that as commissioners, as residents, what we want is a safe community. We want a fiscally responsible government, and we want to keep the beauty and charm that is the city beautiful. We all move here, we all work here for a reason. We chose to be here, and it would be my commitment and my honor to increase the quality of life and make this city exceptional.
Tony?
It's all important. Every last thing is important. I'm going to tell you why, because it's all connected. And this is what a lot of people miss, is that you can't remove one piece of the puzzle. It all falls down like a Jenga tower. Okay, your quality of life is important, fine, but you need the money to fund it. We have a very expensive lifestyle here, right? And so you need the right amount of growth in order to fuel that. But then if you grow too much, I don't care how much money you produce. If there's gridlock, if you can't get down your street, if you can't get past the light on Ponce or on Madrid or what have you, then you have no quality of life. You can't fix that with all the money in the world. And then if you don't fix pensions, and you do raise all this money, you're just going to shovel it into a black hole. It's all connected. It's a big puzzle. So you have to address them all, because if you neglect one, believe it or not, you affect the others.
Jeanette?
Quality of life is on every candidate's mail-outs and walking pieces. There's no doubt about it. We appreciate our quality of life here in Coral Gables and want to keep it that way. In the polls that have been done for other candidates, I understand that crime is 80% on most people's polls, and development in schools and everything else is below that. To me, development coming up in the Coral Gables really affects everything in our residential community. I don't go to Brickell as often as I should, because I don't want to go down there and spend 20 or 30 minutes just going 2 or 3 blocks because of the congestion and the traffic. It's important to look at our development. It's coming whether we want it or not, and it's legal, and in most parts it's going to be a wonderful aspect for our city. But we have to make sure that the developers listen to the city and see the citizens' points of views and make any changes possible to remove gridlock and to have parking garages and everything else to go with it.
Thank you, Jeanette. And now it's time for the closing statement from each candidate. Each candidate gets 2 minutes for a closing statement, and we're going to start on that end with Jeanette Slesnick.
Thank you. My husband, when he was in office for 10 years, I stood at his side, went to everything that he went to basically, and was very involved with his being a public servant. And I've been a public servant all my adult life. And I care about my city, and I care about the residents and the business owners and the peoples in schools and the children here and our quality of life. And I would just like to use my experience as a realtor or talking to homeowners, as a realtor here and as a public servant myself, and use my experience to maintain our quality of life, which we so value here in Coral Gables. I will return phone calls, I will answer emails, I might even answer your texts. I'm not so good at that. But I really want to make sure that we have a lot of communication between the homeowners and our citizens here in Coral Gables and our city government. And I think that's been sorely lacking in the last 4 years, and it's very important for our citizens to know what's going on in our community. And I appreciate all of you being here, and for Elliot, and I would really like to ask for your vote on April 14th, and please consider me, and I appreciate all of you being here, and thank you.
Tony?
We all love this city. We all do. That's why we're here. I'm in my early 30s, and I can tell you it's not easy finding a starter home in this city. Okay, my wife and I could have bought something a lot larger, twice as big for half as much somewhere else on the other side of Red Road, but we wanted to be here because we are committed to this place. We have planted our roots in this place. And something that amazes me about it, something I love about it, is that this city for me is like a living organism, okay? It has a head, it has a heart, and it has a soul. The head's the government. It's the brain that coordinates all the functions, makes sure everything is working smoothly. The heart is what pumps the blood. It's the commercial sector, okay? It's what generates the revenue. It sort of feeds and nourishes the rest of the city. And the soul are you and me and all the 49,000 people in this city and the neighborhoods we live in. And that thing right there creates an organism. You can't take one part out. So for the head, what do we want? We want a smart government, an efficient government, a transparent government without corruption, okay? We want one that's responsive to the people. We talk about community meetings. I think we should have a website that's called MetroQuest that many cities use that will allow you to monitor every single project. Instead of having to go to the youth center at 6:30 and cut off of work early, you can go online and make your notes. For development, yes, responsible development. We need a master plan. We need to know what direction we want to go. We need to decide as a city where we want to be. We're not going to approve all 3 million square feet in one motion, folks. It's not going to happen. Everything's going to go through a board. Everything's going to come to the commission, and they're going to look at it, and they're going to say, does this impact the city in a positive way? Yes, you've got it. No, get out of here. And then the quality of life, which comes after everything, but is really the paramount thing, right? It is fed by the government. It's fed by the heart. But it's why we're here. It's why we want to be here. It's why we pay all the money for these expensive houses. It's why we come to these meetings when we could be at home watching House of Cards reruns or the new season. This is why.
Sandra?
Thanks.
During my introduction, I told you I was a Coral Gables resident, a Coral Gables business owner, and a mother of 2 children at Coral Gables Preparatory Academy. But I think it's important that you know something else about me. My law practice is exclusively dedicated to matters that would never come before the City Commission. I am special interest free. I am conflict free. My family consists of my parents, who are both retired and live in Westchester. I have 2 children who go to school. I'm an only child. I'm an only grandchild on my mother's side. I have 1 uncle who lives in Miami, and he's a retired milkman like my father. I'm only here for 2 reasons. That's why I'm sitting before you here asking for your support, and it's to make Coral Gables an exceptional city, and that you give me the opportunity to serve you, because you are my interest.
My friends, we today stand at the metaphoric fork in the road. We all have a decision that we have to make. Do we want to take the path to the past, or do we want to lay a foundation for a brighter future? Those are the questions that we have to answer ourselves. What is in the best interest of our community? What is in the best interest of our city? Well, I can tell you, to do that, I want each and every one of you to be part of my team. I want your neighbors to be part of my team. I want your loved ones to be part of my team. And together, we are going to lay the foundation for a brighter future. We are going to continue to preserve our community for the future generation. Please vote for me, P.J. Mitchell.
Rip?
Thank you so much. Don't you wish you had 6 votes? You could vote for all of us. Then we. I want to finish the earlier message I gave. Then I'm going to sell myself to you. You'll get my sales pitch. If you want to help with the thing that I've been bringing up tonight about not having Miracle Mile become a concrete canyon, I hope you'll join me in opposing the present redevelopment of the parking garages, because I think they need to include a department store. The reason being that property owners on Miracle Mile, they'll stay forever. All those people, they've been there for a long time. They're not intending to sell. But so if they get the department store, their revenue's safe and secure. But if they know that they'll never get one because the only land large enough to accommodate one is gone to another purpose, then as we all know, the expenses of hurricane insurance, rising taxes, will squeeze them out. And I predict if those parking garages are redeveloped without a department store, I predict that within 15 years you're going to see a concrete canyon on Miracle Mile. Now we'll get to the sales pitch. Get ready. I have a law degree from the University of Florida. I think I know the issues. I think I could do a good job as commissioner. By sitting through the commission meetings for 10 years, start to finish, 2/3 of them over a 10-year period, I think I could hit the ground running. So I will mention what are the priorities, where do I think our tax money should go, police, fire, trash pickup, and because we're still climbing out of the Great Recession. So I'm one of these people. I fought for lower taxes. As long as we're still climbing out of the Great Recession, I don't think we should be spending a lot of your money, except for those 3 top priorities. Thanks for listening.
Ariel?
Well, thanks to the forum for holding this, and the Congregational Church for allowing us to use this beautiful historic building. And Elliot, thank you so much for the great job you've done moderating it. Thank you all for being here this evening and taking the time. You sat through this, an hour and a half listening to us talk. Really appreciate it, and it shows the importance that Coral Gables and that your daily lives have in this election. April 14th, we have an important decision to make. We have to decide about the direction we want for the city. For the last couple of years, we've had a very pro-development commission. I want to be beholden to nobody. I want to be beholden to no developer, to no real estate company. I have no interest in this election, as Sandra Murata was saying. My interest is the interest of the people. I've been working with residents for the last 15 years on issues, from my days with Congresswoman Ross Leighton to the 5 years that I've lived here. My beautiful wife Monica and I moved into the city. It was our starter home. We've lived in this community. We've fallen in love with this community. My neighbor actually rakes my lawn because he knows I don't have time these days. That's the community that I want to live in. I want to preserve that charm. I want to preserve that community that we live in. I want to preserve what Coral Gables stood for 90 years ago. I want to preserve it for the future generations that are coming. My website is arielfernandez.com. I have videos on there on different issues. I have plenty of information. You'll know exactly where I stand on every single issue. And if you have any questions, my cell phone, my email are on there, or you can talk to me after this event is over. Please come back and talk to me. Encourage your friends and your neighbors to participate in the process. It's very discouraging when we have 32,000 registered voters in Coral Gables and only 7,000 people actually come out to vote in municipal elections. It's important that we get more people involved in the process. And it's great to see and to hear that last year we had less people here. Maybe we'll have more participation in this year's election. This is our community. Let's stand up for it. I ask you for your vote on April 14th.
Ariel, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our candidate forum. I want to thank our candidates. I especially want to thank the Coral Gables Forum for putting this together. And I want to remind everybody as you leave that we have another forum a week from tonight. 1 week from tonight, maybe we'll get some extra chairs. The mayor's race next Monday. So thank you very much. Good night.